Hey guys, this is Cameron from Busybody Visa, and today I'm going to talk about the most important thing you need for your K-1 visa, specifically the I-129F application. So I was a former fraud prevention specialist in the United States government. I reviewed over 10,000 applications, and so these are the most common reasons I see why the I-129F is denied. Also the I-130, which is for the marriage visa. So there's some basic things like guys, trying to fluff their income. And also a lot of the applications just look like the guy was high when he filled it out. So incomplete applications, things like that. So those are basic things. But the big thing that is really important for your K-1 visa to succeed is your evidence that the relationship is bona fide. So unlike your tourist visas, your student visas, they know there's immigrant intent. So with those visas, they're looking for immigrant intent. But K-1, it's technically a non-immigrant, but it's a de facto immigrant visa because you're supposed to marry the American within 90 days. The biggest thing that they're looking for on a K-1 or CR1 application is evidence that the relationship is not bona fide. How do they do that? Well, your evidence. That's why they request so many pages. That's why the K-1 visa process is one of the longest visa applications out there. You're looking at 300 to 600 pages worth of paperwork here. So what I'll see a lot of guys doing, and yes, I do mean guys because 80% of K-1 petitioners are male. The big thing I see guys doing is they'll just dump a bunch of pictures in chat and expect the officer to just sort it out and then say, okay, yeah, the relationship is bona fide. Well, that's not gonna work, number one. And number two, hey guys, I'm just in the process of editing this, but I just want to point out that ISOs typically have between 5 to 10 minutes per application to review. So they don't have a lot of time to sit there and try and figure out what you're trying to say when they're reviewing your evidence. So the best way to present your evidence is to look at it this way. If someone is thumbing through your evidence, does it tell a cogent story? If it does, you're good. If it doesn't, then you need to do something else before you submit it. And also, it's too simple to say quality over quantity because you can't just slap 2 pictures in there, even if they're high quality, and expect that to be sufficient evidence that your relationship is legitimate. So you need to be able, for example, for the Philippines, most of these relationships started online. So you need to say, we met on Filipino Cupid, this is our chat, this is when we first met, blah, blah, blah. Then you show, okay, I met her in person at the airport, picture of that. Okay, here's a picture of me with her family. They really look for pictures with family, by the way. And then also, here's a trip we took to El Nido or to this place. Here's me celebrating our birthday. This is me at church getting communion with her. Just something that shows that you two have made a genuine effort to integrate your lives as much as possible. Now, obviously, in K-1 situations, the couples are apart most of the time. So they're not expecting you guys to be living together or anything like that. But they are expecting that you guys are talking frequently, that you've met her friends and family, that that you have a relationship with them. You should be able to say what her mother's name is, things like that. So if you just meet the legal limit, you can submit an application with the legal minimum, which is 1 meeting within the last 2 years. But your application is way more likely to be scrutinized. Also, any arrest for domestic violence within the last 5 or 10 years automatically triggers a VAWA, that's Violence Against Women Act review, and your application gets spit into secondary review, or as we like to call it, hospice. So that's really bad. Even being arrested, not convicted, just arrested. So that's why if you do have an arrest for that sort of thing, you really need to talk to a lawyer or a visa consultant or something. Okay. Also, every embassy does things a little differently. For example, the USC in Manila does not accept co-sponsors for K-1 visas, even though they have the ability to. K-1 visas are scrutinized a lot more than CR1 visas. Why? Well, because the State Department considers marriage to be a stronger bond, a stronger commitment than a fiancé. Because a fiancé, there's no paperwork to do that. There's no paperwork that you file to be someone's fiancé. Whereas a marriage, that means that you went through a process, that you have committed time and resources to this relationship, and that it's real. And also it does a lot of the work for them. They don't have to check for, whether the partner's married to someone else, although they do in countries where bigamy is legal. But they just feel like a marriage is a stronger bond and commitment than a fiancé. So that's why whenever I get a client, they have a borderline case, like their case just has too many red flags, low income, BAWA issues, I always suggest that they get married and then submit a marriage application as opposed to doing a K-1. Back in the day, K-1s were faster, but they really are kind of neck and neck now. So if you feel like you have some concerns, I definitely recommend just going for the CR1, or if you've been married a long time, an IR1. So I hope that this video is helpful to you and giving you useful information on your K-1 or CR1 visas. Okay. Let me know. If you have any questions, ask in the comments. Have a good night.